so it's a very interesting story. And what I like, and this is also ties to what I do. What I did, this was an oral history, and a typical oral history that Studs Terkel might do is, Sue tells her story and Joel tells his story and move on, and just sort of serial stories.
Right.
I wrote it, put it together as if everybody, 60, 70 people were in one room.
Right.
Producers, performers, doctors, cops, kids in the audience, Mrs. Yasgur, Wavy Gravy, Abby Hoffman, and we were all told the story together. And so it reads almost like you
You're building a virtual community through the medium.
Or like you shoot a movie, different scenes, and then make it seem like feel like a seamless whole. And that's about context.
Yeah.
And so that's a big part of who I am and what I do. It became axiomatic in Silicon Valley in the late 90s, and that content is king.
Right.
Right. Those who had content would be king.
Right.
And it turns out that in all but a few cases, and most of those cases are existing media companies like Time Warner and a few others that became media companies like Apple. Content turned to be cheap and ubiquitous and not all that exciting, but it was context, the companies that made sense of the content through databases and search and things like Yelp and and Craigslist and everything else. It's that context making sense of information that became the valued commodity on the web. And ultimately, how do you take big data and all this stuff and makes actually not just context but knowledge and hopefully someday wisdom.
Right.
And that's really what's needed in sustainability. Is that there's
in fact, you're doing that through the Verge initiative. You're really kind of crystallizing a lot of context.
Yeah, that's we'll get to Verge in a second. But just as a company, we don't do a lot of daily news because you can find news about what company published a sustainability report from other websites. But we've pivoted away from news, and it's much more the contextual stuff. I ask my reporters, when you write a story about company X does Y, to put the word how or why in front of it. So why does company X do it? How do they do it?
Right.
And it's that level that takes you to a deeper,
a whole different level.
contextual level that makes it valuable.